Hey, what's up everybody? This is Todd Bowen from sittingposture.com. Welcome to today's video, Computer Posture Mistakes and Fixes, episode 12. I want to thank you guys for joining me. I do value your time and I promise I will make it as worthwhile as possible. Computer posture can be a very painful and boring topic. I try to create content that is free of charge, open-minded, relatable to our daily lives, and easily actionable. Quick note, the info in this presentation is not medical advice. It's based off my experience and my opinions. I talk about good habits that have helped me live a higher quality, sedentary lifestyle. Do your research, make good decisions, and be the best possible advocate you can be for your own healthcare. The specific goals of my YouTube channel are to help the user decrease pain caused by sitting at a computer. That's always going to be my number one goal. Increase energy, improve mental clarity, and increase work productivity. All of these go hand in hand when computer posture is improved. Quick note about me, my name is Todd Bowen. I've got a degree in information technology, so I've taken classes like workstation ergonomics and user experience. I'm a lifelong athlete and exerciser, and I have sat at a desk for 20 plus years. A quick look at my website before we get started with the content, sittingposture.com. If you want to sign up for my email newsletter, go right ahead to sittingposture.com and enter your email address here. Click Get Updates. I only send one email out a week. I don't spam. I usually send it out on Fridays, and it will include a link to the article I wrote for my website that week, as well as 2 links to the YouTube videos that I posted that week. I post a YouTube video on Wednesday and one on Sunday. All right, let's get into a computer posture mistakes and fixes, episode 12. One last note, I'm not compensated by any product sellers or manufacturers. There's no paid promotion in this video. If I mentioned that I like a keyboard or a mouse or a chair or a monitor or a desk, I haven't received any paid promotion for it. It's just a product that I paid my own money for that has improved my posture. So here's a good one I like to look at. This slouching forward is called kyphosis. We won't get into that technical term, but basically it's just slouching forward with the upper spine. You can see there it still has some curves in it in the spine, but those natural curves are obviously inflamed here because he's leaning forward, not taking advantage of the back support. He does have a high monitor, but he is leaning forward. I would scoot this chair in a little bit and lean back and take advantage of this back support. Another thing I do, I would change this foot position so that it's flat on the floor like this one. I used to sit like this with both feet underneath my chair and underneath my body, and what that did was that contracted my hamstrings for 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week for many years. And I got really tight, messed up hamstrings from it. Took a lot of work to get some improve the muscle health of those hamstrings. But not to mention that, I mean, the ankle function, my ankle function suffered greatly, which led to other issues, knee dysfunction. But right here, when he's on his toes like that, it shortens the muscles in the front of the ankle and lengthens the muscles in the back of the ankle. So it creates a lot of muscle confusion there and an imbalance that is felt throughout the rest of the legs. So here's a better example. You can see the natural curves in the spine right there. When people say sit up straight, this is what is actually correct, because you can sit up too straight and overextend that spine and take those natural curves out of it. So when people say sit up straight, it's more like sit balanced or sit neutral or sit with natural curves in your spine. That's the goal right there, is to sit like that. And you'll also notice he's got both feet flat on the floor in this picture. All right, a quick look at this user here. Obviously, she's not at her home office or whatever. She's got to be working remotely, which is understandable. But one thing and she doesn't look like she's in a terrible position here. It's unfortunate that she has to look down at her screen that much, because that's going to cause some overextension issues in the back of her neck and in her upper back, and some compression on the front of her body, in the front neck muscles and in the chest. But aside from looking down at her screen like that, the only other thing I will mention is that she's on her toes there. Probably a little anxious. You know, obviously work is stressful. I've done it many times. That's why I did it for years. Just contracting muscles that don't need to be contracted, and you don't realize you're doing it until years later. So if I was her, I would definitely try to relax those feet, put them flat on the floor. I would actually even rather sit with my legs straighter. If she can't put them flat on the floor because of that table, I would actually bend my knees more than a 90-degree angle. Right now they're less than a 90-degree angle. If I can't get them at a 90-degree angle, so my feet are flat on the floor, I would actually rather have my heels on the floor and my toes in the air, as opposed to just using my toes. Another look at a laptop user here. Obviously, just getting work done quickly. He's not working there 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, so that's understandable. Again, he's looking down, so that's unfortunate, but sometimes it has to be done on a laptop. But the one thing I want to mention here is his knees are also less than a 90-degree angle. So I would definitely try to get those feet out further in front of him, because he's contracting his hamstrings in a big way right now, and that'll lead to overuse injuries and shortening of the hamstrings and dysfunction and a lot of pain in the future. So I would try not to sit, even if I have to work in this chair, I would try not to sit with my knees at less than a 90-degree angle. I would try to have them 90-degree or more, maybe even out. And also, I don't like how he has to flare his elbows out away from his body to use the armrest. So if I was sitting in this chair, I would just tuck my elbow. I would not use the armrest at all. Just tuck my elbows to my upper body. That would relax a lot of muscles in here: shoulder, trap muscles, neck muscles on the front, but also on the back, and also chest. His internal shoulder rotation is taking a beating in his shoulders from having to flare his elbows out like that just to type on the screen. So if it was me, I would let my elbows sit next to my body without using those armrests. All right, quick look at another laptop user here. He's got his elbow is pretty low below the desk. That's one of my favorite variables to keep in check, is always keep elbow above the desk. Because if your elbow is below the desk, what that's going to do, you've got to have your arm, you can't see it here, but when he puts his hand on the keyboard, it's at an upward angle. And in order to get that arm, that lower arm at that upward angle, he's got to contract his bicep. So it's just like we just talked about the hamstring being contracted all day. If that elbow is below the desk, that bicep is contracted all day to keep that arm in an upward angle. Even if he's resting it on that desk, which is taking some pressure off of it, that bicep is still contracted just a little bit. And it's like holding a bicep curl for 40 hours a week, basically. And again, like I say all the time, he's looking down. He would definitely benefit from a extended monitor here. His torso is pretty much upright. He's not taking advantage of the back support, but he's also not slouching forward. And he's obviously at some kind of a conference room. Hopefully he doesn't have to work in a situation like this 40 hours a week. Also here you can see the elbow is resting below the table. He's got his forearm on the table. And just like that one user a couple pictures ago who had his elbows flared out to the side in order to type on his laptop, his elbow was very, very far away from his body. It takes muscles up here, a lot of muscle activation up here, to flare that elbow out at the body so that upper arm is at a 45 degree angle. Takes a lot of muscle activation up here to do that, and there's a lot of overuse injuries, speaking from experience, can accumulate. I'm also not taking advantage of his back support, but that's probably because he doesn't have the possibility of an extended monitor. With that extended monitor, it would bring his head back, which would just cause a chain reaction. It would relax the rest of his body, and he'd probably take advantage of that back support on the chair. So here we go. Here's a good example of an extended monitor. She's got a laptop, but she is working off the extended monitor, which is great. Looks a little bit high. I'd probably raise my chair just a little bit. I'm not sure. It might take her feet off the floor if she raises her chair, because she looks like she is a little bit of a shorter individual. If it does, that's when a footrest would come into play. There's multiple different heights that we want to look at. One is the top of the monitor being eye level. The monitor's a little high here, so I would raise the chair is the second height. Elbow height is another very important variable. And it looks like this chair is a little too low for the elbow height also, because she's got it flared out to the side just a little bit. Not a ton, but it is a little bit. So if she lifts that chair up, I bet it would make it a lot easier for her to keep her elbow into her side and relax a lot of these shoulder muscles. I do want to mention that she's got her keyboard pretty far ahead, probably because she has to flare her elbow out in order to rest it on the table and reach the keyboard. It's also one of those big bulky keyboards. I'm not a fan of those. Those cause a lot of carpal tunnel issues in my wrist. Not the actual act of typing, but engaging those wrist muscles to lift my hands and fingers onto that big keyboard, and holding that wrist muscle engaged like that for 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. That's what caused my shoulder pain, my wrist pain. So yeah, we'll definitely get a slimmer, more low profile keyboard. Also, it's a big bulky mouse. Same thing over here. She goes from having her wrist engaged to type, to having her wrist engaged to use the mouse. So I definitely try to get a slimmer, lower profile keyboard and mouse that is lower to the table. Okay, let's look here. Sorry, jumped ahead a little too quickly. Again, we've got, this looks like a lot, it's hard to tell because it's blurry, but it looks like a lot slimmer keyboard. I'm not familiar with that one. She does have the big bulky mouse. Like, look how much her wrist is engaged just to get her hand on top of the mouse. It does look a lot more comfortable over here, so it's hard to say with this being a blur, but this does look like a much better keyboard than the last picture. His doesn't look quite as thin and low profile. His looks higher up. But notice that she's got her elbow below the desk, and this is what I was talking about earlier that we couldn't see on that one user. This lower arm is at an upward angle, and she's got to contract her bicep in order to do that, which is going to, over 8 hour period a day, every day, is going to cause a lot of overuse injuries in the bicep. So I would definitely raise this chair up just a little bit. She's got the extended monitor, which is great. So she's got the room there to play with as far as eye level height. So I would raise this chair up a little bit, and it would allow her to relax her shoulders and her bicep a little bit more. And I would probably pull this keyboard in just a little bit. But other than that, she looks like she's doing pretty good, taking advantage of the back support. And her head is not too far forward. Maybe she's just looking down because she's looking at the keys. One thing I want to mention about this guy, decent posture, taking advantage of the back support, but his elbow also is too low. Not by a ton, but just by a little bit. His elbow is below that desk, so I would not want to sit there. It doesn't look like he's contracting his bicep because he's got his arm flared out so much to the side, which just tells you that his chair is definitely too low. If he's got to flare his elbow out to the side just to get his hand on that desk, that's going to cause a lot of overuse in the shoulder muscles and neck and trap muscles up here on his right side. And then he's got his keyboard at an angle, which I don't like at all. Keyboard, mouse, monitor. None of those three devices I like putting them at an angle, because it's going to cause some type of overuse on one side of the body, left versus right, right versus left. It's going to cause overuse on one side that lengthens the muscles. Those same muscles on the other side of the body are going to get compressed and overused as well. Here's a quick setup. All right, here's some great examples of the keyboard I'm talking about. Super flat. Look at that mouse, super flat mouse, very low profile and slim, very close to the top of the desk. I don't like how far ahead that one is. I would bring this one a little bit closer. I would just leave just enough room on the table for my wrists to rest. The closer this keyboard is to us, the closer our elbows are going to be to our rib cage, and the less muscle activation it's going to take up in our shoulders and in our upper back. They got the big monitor here. I like that. Same thing going on over here, but it's turned at an angle. Like I mentioned on the last picture, I'm not a fan of that. It's going to cause some kind of lateral muscle dysfunction or muscle confusion, shortening of the muscles on one side of the body, lengthening of those same muscles on the other side of the body. And that's the biggest problem with that, is it's an issue that we don't realize is happening until years later. So it's very important to notice it now and catch it now. And I like how this user's got the monitor riser. He lifted his or her monitor up. They're obviously a tall person. They obviously know what they're doing here ergonomically. All right, here's a quick look. Here's the big bulky keyboard here. You can see how much work he's doing just to type. He's got that elbow below the desk, which I wouldn't do. I would definitely raise that chair up. He's definitely overworking the biceps in order to have his lower arm at that upper angle. He's taking advantage of the back support, which I like. We can't sit up directly at a 90-degree angle to the floor all day long. You know, even if we have good posture, repetitive strain is going to take a toll on us. So I like how he's set back a little bit. He looks pretty comfortable there. He's got the extended monitor. It's about eye level at the top of the screen. I like that a lot. Over here, it looks like she is borrowing her neighbor's mouse. It looks like this is her computer. She's borrowing her neighbor's mouse, so it's understandable that this is not the position she works in all the time. But they've got that big, bulky keyboard, which I don't like. It caused a lot of wrist pain for me. And the bulky mouse. They've got the wrist pads there, the gel pads, which I'm also not a fan of. If we lift our chairs high enough so that our elbows are in the correct position, I don't think we need those wrist pads, you know, but it's personal preference. As long as that elbow is higher, if it feels good, it feels good. If it doesn't cause any issues, then that's great. I just personally don't like them. But if she was, let's pretend for a second she was sitting at her desk. She's leaning forward a lot, and it looks like she's also got some overextension in her lower back. So she's slouching forward and overextended in her lower back. But it's not exactly fair to say how her posture is when she's working on her computer, which is probably this white monitor over here. But she does have her monitor on a riser, which is good. All these people are using extended monitors. They may be working off of desktop computers, not sure. But if they are working off laptops, very beneficial for them to use these extended monitors like that. Okay, here's one image that I use very often. I talked about the multiple different heights that are important variables of good computer posture. This picture is a great example of it. The monitor screen is at the eye level. The top of the monitor screen is at eye level. Looking down just a little bit to see the bottom of the screen is okay. The elbows are just above the desk setup, which is awesome. His arms are 90 degrees. I kind of like my elbows to be a little bit higher, and my lower arms have just a little bit of a downward angle. Not a lot, just a little bit. I think that takes a burden off of the biceps and puts a little bit more burden on the triceps, which are a stronger, bigger muscle anyway, for me at least. And that way it takes a little bit of burden off the biceps and a little more on the triceps. And it's more comfortable for me. So we've got the eye level, the elbow height, and also the feet flat on the floor is huge. We talked about that earlier. We had a great example of that earlier about how it can cause ankle dysfunction if he was to sit on his toe, rest his feet on his toes right now. All the hamstring contraction that would cause in the overuse injuries, just not worth it when we finally find out that that is an issue. So it's great now that he's to realize, to have the body awareness that having our feet flat on the floor is reducing a lot of risk of injury in the future. All right, well, that's it for today's video, guys. Computer posture, mistakes, and fixes, episode 12. Thanks for watching. If you've made it this far, congratulations. You're taking a big step forward in improving the quality of your life. Sign up for free email updates at sittingposture.com/newsletter. I only send out one email a week, and that's on Fridays usually. What I do, as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, I include the link to the article that I wrote for my website that week, as well as the 2 links for the YouTube videos that I posted on my YouTube channel that week. I post a YouTube video every Wednesday and Friday, but this email comes out on Fridays. If you want to, you can download a free computer posture checklist. There's 14 variables in this checklist that talk about how to sit at a computer with good posture. I haven't done one yet for standing desks. This one is related to sitting only. Sittingposture.com/checklist is where you can download that. It's a PDF version. You can print it out easily and post it at your computer as a consistent reminder of how to sit at a computer with good posture. And My YouTube channel is youtube.com/@sittingposture. If you want to subscribe and see my videos in your feed more often, that would be great. I'd really appreciate that. That helps me out big time. All my content is free, and it always will be. The more people that see my videos, the more ability I have to make more content. So with that said, if you found this video helpful, please hit the like button. That helps me out a ton. I appreciate you for helping me spread my message. And finally, last but not least, feel free to forward this video to a friend or family member who sits at a computer full time. That's the ultimate compliment, when my content helps someone enough that they trust it with a friend or a family member. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate you. This is Todd Bowen from sittingposture.com. Computer Posture Mistakes and Fixes, episode 12. I'll see you guys on the next video. Take care.